Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is your daily dose of Planet Cool Stuff. I'm Rob McCallum. We're going to talk about three short topics today. Of course, I'm going to remind you that Planet Cool Stuff, the Kickstarter launches Tuesday, November 21st. It's your exclusive chance to get a DVD or Blu-ray of our brand new 13-episode series that delves into all your favorite things, pop culture, whether it's video games, movies, music, TV, toys, and a little bit more. It's early stuff, it's current stuff, it's the people that you know, it's the people that you don't know, and it's the behind the scene look of how this stuff all comes together. But today I want to talk to you about three things. I want to talk about Mario RPG, I want to talk about the state of superhero movies, and I want to talk about toys. Feel free to chime in with any comments that you got, any questions. I will get to them when I can. We are live streaming, ladies and gentlemen, on YouTube, on Twitch, and maybe even Facebook. I can't remember at this point. It's all happening so fast, and it's an exciting morning. Can you tell? I've had my coffee. If you're having coffee, cheers to you. Let's start with Super Mario RPG. Shout out to Daniel before I get going. Hey, man, how's it going? Mario RPG, okay. This is one of those Mario titles that people just love, especially those that grew up in the SNES era, because it was like a new way to play Mario. You remember when Mario Kart came out, and then Mario Tennis and Mario Golf and Smash Brothers to a different extent? These were different Mario experiences, right? And the one experience that people really clung to for the longest time was Mario RPG. And we've been asking a long time, where is the sequel to Mario RPG? Well, they kind of did it with Paper Mario, right? That's a different Mario experience. But it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same team. It wasn't the same feeling. It didn't catch on fire. It's been a very successful series. There are a lot of fans out there of Mario RPG, but I think so many old school folks like myself got a little excited when Nintendo said, hey, we're remaking and re-releasing Mario RPG. The game that you love is coming back out. Isn't it like Mario RPG, The Land of the Seven Stars or something like that? Search for the Seven Stars. It was just one of those things that was like, oh wow, this is a new kind of Mario, and I get a little bit more, connected to it. And it's just like, I've never experienced this because it's just a different way to play the game. And when you get a different experience of the thing you love, it's awesome. Legend of the Seven Stars. Sorry, I apologize about that. Can you tell I was raised on a Genesis? I didn't have it, but I remember my good friend Jay Bartlett did have it, and watching him play it was pretty awesome because he never let me play it. Of course, I had to sit there and watch his player number two. I am the Luigi to his Mario. That's just the way that goes. Mario RPG dropped this past week, and a lot of people were super excited about it, right? And I mean, what's not to be excited about? It's a new Mario release game. It's going to have updated graphics. It's going to have updated music, from what I understand. There's some quality of life improvements in there. Have you played it? What did you think? Did you get excited about the Mario RPG announcement and the drop? Were you there day one on the launch? I was not. And it's not that I don't want to. I just don't know that I feel like I need to. First of all, my gaming backlog is ridiculous. Second of all, my gaming backlog is comprised of many RPGs, and we all know how many hours an RPG takes to play. This brings me to Mario RPG. I think similar to Final Fantasy VII, it's exciting when an RPG gets remade and re-released, and we've seen this with some other games, some other cherished games, of course, too. But I think the excitement wears off because you can't just instantaneously experience it the way that you did the first time you played it. We remember these retro games in a different way than when we play them now. It's a different experience that we can't get. It's the old adage, you can never go home again. You can never do that thing again for the first time and get that same feeling. There's something to be appreciated of the new. And I know when I go back to play Mario RPG, and I've played it, I had the SNES Mini, and I have, of course, a copy of it on SNES in my time. And again, as a Final Fantasy fan, I wanted to see what Square was able to do with Mario. But I know when I sit down to play it, it's never going to capture that experience that I had the very first time I played it. That excitement of playing a Mario title in a different capacity aside from a platformer. It's what I talked about at the beginning, right? It'll never capture that again. It might be nostalgic, it might be fun, it might be cool to experience with somebody else, like my kids. It might be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that part, or oh yeah, I forgot about that part. Like, it'll never beat the expectations you've had if you played it. Now, if you haven't played it, this is a great entry point to it, but then you're dealing with the hype. Will it live up to the hype? Will it be as good as everybody is making it out to be, that everybody had lauded for the last, 30 years? Is it going to do what it's supposed to do for you to scratch that spot where you need to have that big release of joy? That, oh my goodness, I love it so much. I don't know that a remake can ever do that. It can be exciting, it can be interesting, but this is why I always prioritize the new. The Den of Geek is in the house. Hello, how are you doing? Thanks for checking in. We're talking Mario RPG and kind of video game remakes as a whole. Movie remakes are a little bit different in that, and this is actually a really interesting thing to consider. Movie remakes are different because we really know what we're getting, but people that remake films can really play with the formula and do a lot of different things. They can have a different aesthetic, a different soundtrack. They can have a different pace, a different style, so that it can be the same story, but it can be wrapped in this massively different package. So that when we go to see our favorite film for the second time, or what I would say is our favorite story, it can have a completely different effect on us. But when you play a game again for the second time, I think it's a little bit more restricted because you still have to go through the motions. And in a game that you're trying to remake, you've got to hit those hallmarks. You've got to hit those moments that you love from the first one, where you did the thing that made you feel so good. You can't take that out of a game. It's got to be in there because people are going to expect that. Movies, you get a little bit more latitude. And I think this is the one of the few times movies can get away with doing more in a remake than a video game can. Let's talk again a little bit about RPG remakes, because you can't jump in and get that instantaneous gratification that you could say if you played Super Mario Brothers 3 or Super Mario World. And I think it's one of the reasons people gravitated towards Super Mario Wonder so much. It's so much like it's so much like all our other platforming games that we've come to know and love in Mario, but it's brand new. With an RPG, it's not like an all-encompassing experience within a 5-minute level. It's stretched out over the course of 15 hours in the case of Mario RPG, right? Final Fantasy VII, how long was that remake in development for? And they switched the battle system and the graphics felt different. Again, you can't go home again sometimes. And it's really hard to do that, and I love when people don't get a chance to play the game the first time around and they hear about it and they want to jump in and form their own opinion. But are they even forming their own opinion that's valid against somebody that played the original? What does it mean to play Mario RPG today versus, 30 years ago? Does it hold up for somebody that's playing RPGs that are, current nowadays? I'm a big fan of the Trail series by was it Famcom? Yeah, I think so. God, can you tell I haven't had enough coffee yet today, folks? My goodness. Falcom. And those games are very intricate. There's like 12 main entries in the franchise. It's in my gaming backlog, as I mentioned. But I wouldn't want to replay one of those as a remastered edition because they're pretty good the way that they are. I started playing them in the PS3 era. So there's definitely room for graphical improvement, quality of life improvement. They're very JRPG, so there's a lot of things that could be tinkered to more traditional Western RPG. But I can't imagine going back and playing those 70 hours things like Skies of Arcadia, right? Who's a fan of Skies of Arcadia? I see all of you saying, yep, I love that game. Maybe one of the best Sega games, maybe the best Sega RPG. Sorry, Phantasy Star fans. But Skies of Arcadia is great, but it's like a 70-hour plus endeavor. I got it on Dreamcast. I beat it on Dreamcast. And then it came out as Skies of Arcadia Legends for GameCube. Got it. got like 3 hours into it. And there were some graphical differences between the GameCube and the Dreamcast, and they added some more features to play it. But it just was like, oh, there wasn't enough of the new. It wasn't as exciting. I didn't need to do that. And so I question how many people really need to play Mario RPG. If you're a Mario collector and you just love Mario and you want to play this, and you've got in this case, 15 hours, which isn't that much, for an RPG, then go for it. I think, absolutely. I'll be getting my son Mario RPG for Christmas because he's a huge Mario fan and he really likes RPGs. He's never really sat down and played too many, Zelda, which is more action adventure RPG, but never like a traditional RPG. Child of Light, I think he started to play that a little bit. So it'll be an interesting exercise to see if that's something that he gravitates towards. But he loves Mario, and I'm going to talk to him. I might even film with him to see what he thinks while he's playing, because I don't know what his expectations are. He just hears Mario and RPG. It's like, oh, that's something I need to experience. But I want to know what you guys think. Or is remaking RPGs or remaking video games a wasted effort? Is it a cash grab? Is Nintendo just kind of capitalizing on something that they've left dormant for a while? And they know that there's an audience, especially the audience on the Switch, which continues to sell like hotcakes into its 6th, 7th year. I think we're in now. We're going to be in 2024. It's a system that's not slowing down, and good for them, right? Good for Nintendo to have finally an awesome system after, the Wii didn't have many awesome games, although it had a huge user base, and there was a lot of fun games on the Wii, but then the Wii U, it was just like, well, give me the goods, Nintendo. So I understand why they're trying to take advantage of this. I just not sure how I feel about it. If I had to yay or nay it, I'm going to nay it because I can always go back and play the original. But I also know that I'm an old curmudgeon-y gamer nowadays. And as I've been playing RPGs since Mario RPG first came out, even though I didn't get to play it when it first came out, there have been a lot of quality of life improvements in games and what gamers come to expect. So what am I more likely to play, I guess, is another thing to look at. Am I more likely to play the original SNES Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars, or am I more likely to play the Switch version? Probably the Switch version, because I'm hoping that there's some quality of life improvements that make it easier for me to get through. And, nice graphics is nice. But this is not a must-have. And I think so much of our life and our culture and our society is, I need it, I want it, I don't want it, I can't have it. Like, there's such a dichotomy between what I have to have and what I absolutely don't want in my life. There's no middle ground anymore. So, yeah, like Jay says, if we only had unlimited time to do everything. But, the counterpoint to that, Jay, is we don't have unlimited time. And that's what makes the stuff that we play more precious, right? How much of a chance do we give things? If we're going to pick and choose, because we never know how much time we truly have in the big picture of things, not just in our gaming sessions. What are we going to use our time for? Is it going to be something that we've already experienced at some point in the case of Mario RPG, or are we going to look for something new? Now, the definition of new is also interesting, because would it be better if it was like Mario RPG 2 and it was a new story and it was kind of just like more of the same? When is more too much, right? It's the title of this video. When is more too much? Is more Mario good or bad? Do we need more of the same thing, or do we need more of the new? What is that dividing line between, comfort and exploration and exposure of the stuff that we're not used to feeling? I love the comfort. I love the knowing and the familiarity, but I also there's a comfort in experiencing that thing that I haven't experienced before. The danger with the stuff we haven't experienced is we're so quick to judge on it. That's like, oh, it's not for me, it's not for me. Or nowadays with information getting out there so quickly, we often judge things before they even come. My new process is never to look at really any movie trailers. Game trailers I kind of look at because it's a $70 investment American on some of these games, right? So I want to see if this is a game that I'm going to like, and I'm going to research games. But when it comes to movies, because they're so ubiquitous and there's so many platforms, and frankly, there are so many choices of stuff, I think it's so much easier to just hold off on the trailers. I don't need to see anything. Let me read the log line, the short description of it, and if that's something that interests me, or if I hear buzz, that's great. I'll even wait years to watch something and be completely comfortable with it. As a Star Wars fan, I haven't seen Ahsoka yet. I heard it's, middle of the road for some people. Other people love it. Other people say, no, stay away from me. I'll get to it when I get to it, and I'm happy to do that. But I haven't seen a trailer, and that's cool. Jay's chiming in again here. Nintendo's done that from day one. I say, who cares what everyone thinks? If you want to play it or buy it, again, do it. Jay, we're not letting people have that kind of freedom on this channel. We're not letting people do what they want. We're trying to inform them. This is, you could call all these videos I'm about to do in the next little while, these daily check-ins, these daily doses of Planet Cool Stuff, where we talk about games, movies, TVs, and everything else. The fence. You're on the fence. Which way do you go? It's the classic conundrum. Of course, if you want to play, go play it. But also consider what you might be missing out. When's the last time you looked at the indie store? Because I'm blown away almost every time I look there. Pretty interesting. In the same conversation, I'd say, let's talk about Marvel movies. I mentioned that off the top, that we were going to talk about Marvel or superhero fare in general. We're still getting new movies and new TV shows, right? So that's the new part that I keep saying, hey, new is good. New is good. Let's have more new. Don't remake Iron Man already, 15 years later, although they could. Don't remake it, but aren't they already kind of rinsing and recycling to some degree? Here's the tragic origin story. Here's how the hero came to be. Here's the tip of the toe in the universe. People talk about superhero fatigue. People have been talking about that forever. They talked about it with the cartoons in the 90s. They talked about it during the early 2000s with a lot of the Fox movies, right? X-Men and Daredevil and Punisher. Oh, superhero fatigue. We've had 6 movies in, 6 years. That's a lot of spandex, even though they're wearing leather. Yeah, I don't know about that. But now that the MCU has started and got successful, and everybody finally has that universe where it's just like picking up a new issue of their favorite comic book character, there's too many issues. I can't do it. It's too many. It's too much. I don't want the issues anymore. Or the issues are starting to feel the same. They had their big, burn down the town event with the Infinity War saga, the 2-part film, and now they're trying to build it back up again. And people are kind of burnt out. They invested in 20 plus films, 23 films, I think it was at the time, for those two leading up to those 2 Avenger films, with all the crossovers and back and forth, and watch this TV show for 10 more seconds of somebody's opinion on the thing that matters. The stone, the gauntlet, put on the glove, take over the world, snap your fingers, clap your hands. Oh, it's the end of the world. Hey, it's all fun. But am I going to sit through 10 episodes that are an hour long each to get that one little soundbite? Those mid-credit scenes that everybody kind of ended up going to see Marvel movies for in the first place. How much of that is new versus how much of it is just, the carrot on the stick? Keep going, guys. Keep going. A lot of us are sick of eating carrots. Again, when it comes to TV and movie, I'll get to it. I get to it. If you excite me through word of mouth at this point, that's what's going to get me. Guardians of the Galaxy, great, trilogy, funny, different approach to comic book movies. I'm a big Adam Warlock fan. He was in the 3rd film. It's available on Disney Plus. I'm a subscriber to Disney Plus. I have not seen Volume 3 yet. One of the things holding me back is, well, what other films do I got to watch in order for me to be able to have permission to see this movie? Because do I have to watch all these mid-credit scenes? Do I got to watch, Black Panther 2? Do I got to watch, was it Captain America and Winter Soldier? All these rules for all this new stuff. It's like, okay, we're going to give you new stuff, but here's the way you need to enjoy it. You want to watch Star Wars? Okay, we'll make all the Star Wars you want, but then you got to watch this season of this show, and then you got to watch this season, even though this isn't that good, but we'll give you one episode that's pretty good to fool you into thinking there's more good stuff, even though maybe it's just kind of an anomaly. And then you're going to get this other stuff, and it's all going to build towards something I swear it's going to pay off because it worked before, right? We're in a really interesting time of recycling, reconstructing, and repeating ourselves as we look to find something. So even the idea of new isn't new. It isn't fresh. And I don't know what the answer is. But like Jay said, we only have so much time. We certainly only have so much money. Let's talk about toys before we end this out. Let's talk about toys because, toys are something that I will never stop loving. I will never stop playing with toys. And yes, I play with toys. I like to get toys out of the package and position, pose, smash them up, bang them up, play with my kids, invite them to come in. You probably can't see over here, but we have a bunch of stuff on the ground here that we played with. We have a big smash them up derby. But it's hard to get them to see new toys because, first of all, there isn't many new toys out there, right? Toys are aging out. There's stuff that's like for kids 5 and under, and then there's adult collector stuff. And I'm not going to say it's a video game thing in the middle, but that's obviously a role. There's also just not a lot of content aimed at kids that have toys that isn't a Marvel movie or a DC movie that they care about. And, no offense to Ant-Man, I've never heard some kid say, I really want an Ant-Man figure. Sorry, Paul Rudd. You're great in the role, but your 3 films still have not sparked somebody's interest in having an Ant-Man figure be their priority for Christmas. It's just the way it works. And I wish it was different, but it's not. And how many Ant-Mans do you need? How many Iron Mans do you need? Iron Man does have some different suits. I mean, that's the Batman mentality, right? Batman can have all these different suits because he has all these different gadgets. So it makes sense. It's baked in there. But you kind of only need one Superman. You kind of only need one Spider-Man unless you want the symbiote version. So then you only need 2. Okay. You want Scarlet Spider-Man? Great. But what 6-year-old, 8-year-old is going to want all these variants of Spider-Man? They just want to shoot webs. They just want to stop the bad guy. And yet we keep getting more versions of the same things that we want. How are we ever going to get new toys if we don't ever get new TV and movies? And we're just remaking video games that can't capture the experience that we hope to recapture. We're in this weird pop cultural nebular rut, this limbo of trying to satisfy ourselves because we've been overexposed and overwhelmed to entertainment, that we've been so excited that we've created an insatiable appetite. And I think the biggest problem with all this is we don't have the patience for truly new stuff anymore. Okay. Super Mario Wonder, there were some really interesting facts about this. Okay. 1, there was no timeline on it. 2, there was no budget on it. And 3, all they wanted to do was pay homage to Mario 3 in particular. But they weren't going to release the game until it was ready. And they weren't going to announce the game until they felt it was ready and was going to be pretty close. And that's something I truly appreciated because saves, for Christmas, we typically don't have to wait that long for anything in our lives anymore. Right? Christmas comes once a year. The holiday season, doo-be-doo-doo. It happens once a year. You can't speed it up. Movies drop and in 60 days or last 45 in some cases, you can watch them at home. Don't gotta wait. Really. Not with the amount of options out there. Well, I'll catch it in 45 days. Meanwhile, I'm going to watch this thing that I didn't get to see 45 days ago. Video games, there's a lot of choices to take up that time. But how many of these things are truly honest, time-worthy efforts? There's a lot of great stuff out there, I'm sure, but a lot of the stuff that's getting pushed to us through marketing and advertising dollars just isn't great. That's why I like to hear the buzz. What is this word of mouth? What is the buzz that's happening out there where people can't stop talking about it? Not the ones with billion-dollar marketing budgets, though I'm sure Super Mario RPG and Mario Wonder are deserving of this. What are the games, the movies, and TV shows that, despite all odds, rise up and cannot be denied, that scream at us they are worthy of our time, that say, you know what? You don't need more of that stuff because that more is too much. What you need is some of this stuff, just some of it, not a lot of it, because you can't fall into the trap where like you love this thing and then it gets replicated and replicated and replicated. Jay and Chad had a stream on Friday night where they talked about The Matrix that was ever only designed as one film. Okay. And it became a trilogy, of course, but it was only ever supposed to be one film. But when you make hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, there's this pressure to do more, right? A lot of people can have a lot of jobs. A lot of people can make more stuff and more toys and more posters and sell stuff. And you could be a big hero. and you pick your industry, whether that's movies, TV, music, video games, toys. When something sells well, there will be more of that. The question again today is, when is more too much? How do we put the brakes on stuff? How do we enforce control on ourselves? When are we able to just pump the brakes and say, you know what, this is enough. This was good. This is satisfying. This is filling. I don't need more of this. Let's go see what else is over there. What is worthy of my time? I want to hear from you guys. Sound off, leave a comment, leave a like. What do you think about video game remakes, RPG remakes, movie remakes, and the amount of time that we seemingly don't have? Every day we wake up and it's like, how are we going to spend our day? We only get this day once. How are we going to make the most of this day? Am I going to play something that's been out for 30 years with a fresh coat of paint? You know, a fresh coat of paint isn't enough. Not for me. If it's enough for you, cool. If you've got the 2 hours to stare at some fresh new paint, awesome. Power to you. I listened to the remastered version of Dookie. It was great. But then I wanted just to hear the stuff that hadn't been released that was part of that giant collection edition. You know, the 4 vinyls that were released, the never heard before 20 tracks. Because guess what? I've heard Dookie before. I listen to Dookie all the time. I listen to it so that I can feel comfortable and then hope I can find new music as a result of the suggestions of what I'm listening to. So again, fine lines. When is more too much? Isn't really more of the same? I don't know. Planet Cool Stuff Kickstarter launches November 21st. If you're watching this live, that's tomorrow, Tuesday. 13 episodes. It talks about all this kind of stuff. That's what we're talking about here. You get to see the origins of toys, movies, TVs, video games, hear the decisions behind them, why things changed, hear from the creators, and get some in-depth history. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this. Again, this is nice, just a little daily dose of Planet Cool Stuff, a little PCS just for you. I'm Rob McCallum. Thank you guys so much. Leave a comment. Love ya. Take care. Cheers.